What do you say, everybody? Welcome to Monday Night Quarterback here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. He's Tony Tsoukalas, and I'm Mick Gillispie. And we are going to talk to you tonight about this Crimson Tide Alabama football game against Ole Miss coming up on Saturday. But before we get there, let me remind you that this show is brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums. Oh, let me pop them up on the screen. I hung out there on Saturday night with Trey Yannity right next to the football stadium. It's located just steps away from Bryant-Denny Stadium. Exclusive access to Skygate Club for you and your friends. You got catered game days, unparalleled service. They're luxury condominiums with high-end finishes, appliances, and more. And there's some available right now. You need to check them out. 855-287-1318. You got a whole lot of reasons to do it. Earn rental income. Maybe you just want to rent these things out. On-site hospitality team to handle owner and guest requests of all kinds. Access to world-class housekeeping and maintenance crews. Website and digital marketing services for your residents to maximize revenue and distribution. I loved them. I absolutely loved going there on Saturday, and I'm telling you, it's a really luxurious place. There's a pool and a pond. Pond be good for you, Tony. No, I'm just kidding. That's from Caddyshack. No, actually, you would love this place. It's on the roof right next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Tony, I know that you were a little under the weather this morning, but look, you're playing hurt right now. I shouldn't throw jokes your way right now. I should just appreciate the fact that you're here with us tonight, man. How you doing right now?
Yeah, a little under the weather, but we'll make it through, and it's always good to be on Monday Night Quarterback.
Well, welcome back. All right. Listen, Tone. I'm going to call you Tone. Listen, Tone. Let's get into the Nick Saban press conference from earlier today. There's a lot to chew on right here, and we're going to start with his comments on. I mean, we're going right out of the chute to the gas here, right out of the chute. Ole Miss, and Roll Tide to all of you guys that are watching. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell as you hang out with us tonight. That's how you say Roll Tide as we do the show. So please. Go ahead and do that. Hit the Roll Tide or the bell as we hang out. All right, here he is, the greatest of all time, Nick Saban from earlier today on campus at the University of Alabama.
You know, Ole Miss has an outstanding team. I think they've got like 17 starters back from a team that won 8 games last year. Lane does an outstanding job with their offense. Their overall team is improved in every category, defense, special teams. They really are playing extremely well. This is one of the best offensive teams in the country, no doubt. The quarterback is a fantastic player, understands the offense well, does a great job of executing it. They've got really good running backs. They've got lots of speed. They've got good receivers. The offensive line is returning intact. So a lot of really good players that are really well coached, and their whole fastball system is something that's always a challenge for the defense to, get lined up and play with great poise and be able to focus on, doing your job. So it's a real challenge for us from that standpoint. Defensively, they're really, really improved from a year ago in their statistics and, the way they've played. I think they got a little different system that they're playing. Dropping a little bit more like Arkansas, with a little more 8 drops and playing a little more odd type stuff. So, and they have done it extremely well. And, because they've got good team speed, they're good on special teams. They got a great punter. So, this is a really, really good team overall and going to be a real challenge for us come Saturday, but we're definitely looking forward to it. We're making progress as a team, and I think we need to continue to do that this week.
All right, Tony, there he is. That's his first comment on Ole Miss. Your thoughts on what Coach had to say there?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm working on for tomorrow is that drop 8 coverage that Ole Miss has been doing. Nick Saban mentioned it's a lot like the Arkansas game last year, and if you remember that game, Alabama had checkdowns for days, but really not a lot of deep, big passes. I'd expect that to be kind of the same thing against Ole Miss. So, I know we saw some of the downfield passing game against Southern Miss. Maybe we won't see that as much against Ole Miss if they're going to drop 8 people back in coverage. But that should be Alabama should be able to run on that. They should be able to hit screens. I think the tight ends will be a big part of that as well. And then as far as Nick Saban talking about Ole Miss's offense, what is there not to say? I mean, that is the best offense in college football at the moment. Now Ole Miss hasn't played an SEC team yet, but they have demolished their opponents. You've got Matt Corral, who can really sling it. You've got 3 backs that are all can beat you in multiple ways, and then some receivers and an offensive line. I mean, everything on that Ole Miss defense is rocking. That's what Nick Saban was saying. So it's going to be an interesting battle on that end of the ball.
Yeah, no doubt. I can tell that this is a big game. I mean, it just has that feel. Even when we were talking about Southern Miss, we were really thinking about Ole Miss. So he's got a lot of respect for Lane Kiffin, and here's what he had to say about learning from Lane Kiffin.
Like Totmeyer?
And Nick, Lane is asked quite a bit about what he learned from you during his time in Tuscaloosa. I'm curious, what would you say is the biggest thing that you learned from Lane?
Well, we kind of took on the task when he came here of, changing the whole offense to be more spread, to be more RPO oriented, to use, motions and formations to create issues and problems for the defense. And he did a marvelous job of that when he was here. He's continued to build on it. But I'd say I learned that from him because we sort of made that change. So we all had to get sort of, together on how we were going to do things and what we're going to do. And he did a really good job of that. And he's a very bright, good, really good play caller. So I learned a lot of offensive football from him.
Remember now, Lane Kiffin first showed up as just a consultant. I don't know if you remember that, Tony. He just came in and was just a consultant. And then all of a sudden they brought him back as an assistant coach. And really up until, he kind of had that unceremonial exit, he did a really good job. And it sounds like Nick Saban felt like he was the guy that they turned to make this a spread team.
Yeah, and look at the way that the passing game and the spread offense worked. I mean, everyone wants to start it with maybe Jalen Hurts or Tua Tagovailoa, but really this started with Blake Sims, in the 2014 team, and they were slinging it around and passing the short bubble screens to Amari Cooper, and they'd also go deep a few times, and it just evolved from there. But that was the first real time that Alabama was truly slinging the ball as much as it is. And so it all kind of really did start with Lane, and I think that's part of the reason why Alabama brought him in, not even as a offensive coordinator, but just to kind of get that those ideas flowing in the offense. And because I think Nick Saban saw that kind of offense and knew that he needed to make a change.
Love all you guys making comments in the comments section. We really do appreciate that, whether you're in Australia or you're in Brazil or wherever you guys are tonight. Like and subscribe. Roll Tide, everybody. Thanks for being here on Monday Night Quarterback. He's Tony Tsoukalas. He's Bama Insider's beat writer. He follows the Crimson Tide on a daily basis. I'm Mick Gillispie. We've got all of you guys out here. We can see we've got a little eyeball with all the numbers there, and we know how many of them are here right now. That means you guys, we need that many thumbs up. That's the way that you say Roll Tide as we talk to you tonight. All right, Tony, the other big question, we've all kind of gotten into this. Lane Kiffin, he trolls Nick Saban. I think that a lot of that's just his sense of humor and knowing like Nick Saban is maybe doesn't have that same sense of humor, but maybe he's kind of getting to the point now where it is kind of funny, some of the stuff that's said. But that whole dynamic is something that we are definitely looking forward to seeing play out. The other thing that we want to know, big news-wise, is the status of Brian Robinson. He's been Alabama's starting running back. This is the 6th year for him in the program. He came back. He's definitely the leader of the offense, or one of them. And Nick Saban was asked about that today.
in Tuscaloosa?
Where's B-Rob's health at heading into this week?
Yeah, B-Rob's going to practice today, and hopefully, we'll go day to day with him and see how he develops. But we're hopeful that he'll be, 100% by game time.
All right, not a lot said on this, but we know that to play for Nick Saban, you have to practice for Nick Saban during the week, Tony.
Yeah, and I think that Brian Robinson could have played last week or, this past weekend against Southern Miss. He bruised his ribs a little bit against Florida. Look, we saw him fully suited up against Southern Miss, went through some of the drills, and then right before the game, he kind of, took a backseat role, and then obviously didn't play against Southern Miss. So, Alabama kind of was never going to be tested by Southern Miss. I don't think it was, worthy to risk Brian Robinson in that game. Had they been playing Ole Miss last week, I think you would have saw Brian Robinson play. So, if he gets into the game, if he gets a good week of practice, he should be fine. I think the question really is not will he play, but will he be at 100%? Right. And that's what Alabama's hoping for, is that he'll be at 100%. It kind of sounds like there's a good chance he will be, but we'll see. On the flip side, I mean, we saw the breakout performance of Roydell Williams. I wrote a little bit about that on the site. So Alabama's got other options: Jace McClellan, Trey Sanders.
I'll hold it right there, because you're getting right into where I want you to go here. You've kind of led into where I want you to go. So hold that thought.
Sure, yeah.
And let's listen to what Coach Saban had to say on the Alabama run game. Then let's come back to where you were. All right.
What do you make of your run game so far? A lot of great runs on the perimeter on Saturday. And do you differentiate? How do you differentiate between outstanding runs on the perimeter and inside running between the tackles?
Well, we had some good runs inside too. I think our running game was a little bit big, little. And I think when teams stun a lot, which is, Southern Miss was, really kind of moving up front and cutting gaps and things like that, sometimes you get the bear and sometimes the bear gets you. So it was a little bit big, little, what I call. We made some really explosive runs inside and out. And, sometimes we had some plays where, they gave us issues. So we just need to continue to work on block and movement. And I think that'll be helpful to us.
All right, there you go. Now, Tony, what were you saying again?
Yeah, so I mean, we'll just go off of what Nick said. Big, little, streaky, whatever you want to call it. It was there. Sometimes it wasn't there. Other times, I think Alabama hit on a few big runs is what he was saying. Obviously, Roydell Williams had a 55-yarder right at the end of the first quarter. And I know Jace McClellan had a 23. I think Jace McClellan actually had a couple of the 20-yard runs, which is significant because going into the game, I think Alabama only had 2 runs of 20 yards or more. They had 3 in that game, if I remember right. But it was a little streaky. It was a little big, little, as Nick said. But on the other flip side, you have to be encouraged what you saw from both Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams in just what they can do. And so if Brian Robinson isn't able to go, that would be a big loss for Alabama, but not an insurmountable loss because of the talent that they have in those other 2 guys. And Trey Sanders, too, who we only saw, kind of at the end of that game, but another talented guy as well.
We're going to hear from Bryce Young before the show's over, so just keep that in mind. But, guys, we're all really happy that you're here with us tonight. This is Monday Night Quarterback on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Thumbs up and subscribe as you hang out with us today. Don't forget, tomorrow, Andrew Bone and Trey Yannity will be on to talk recruiting, and we're expecting a big recruiting announcement tomorrow. Bama could get richer as far as the recruits go. Make sure you check out anything from Andrew Bone right now, including BamaInsider.com to find out the latest. All right, let's talk Bryce Young and Alabama's offense. Here's Nick Saban talking about the downfield pass game.
Passing game, and how did that 81-yard pass to Jamison Williams maybe boost confidence there?
Well, I think that, many times players have success. It's probably going to help their confidence. We need to continue to work on vertical passing game, good play action. And, we were very successful in that game doing some of those things. I think to continue to do that will be a critical factor for us. We've got more players involved. Tight ends did a nice job in a game of catching balls. And So, I think it's a big part of what we do. Try to run the ball effectively, try to throw good play action passes, throw in the RPOs and be a decent drop back team when you need to be. That's kind of what we want to continue to strive for.
Let's just hold it right
Cecil
here,
Hurt.
too.
Coach, you mentioned Ole Miss using a lot of 8 drops. How many teams have tried to defend you that way this year, and how has Bryce responded to that?
We got a little bit in the Mercer game. I think, we have to have a good plan against it. Everybody's got to execute well. I think Bryce is capable of recognizing it and getting the ball to the right guys. It's something that we need to work on this week, and probably didn't work on it as much against Mercer because they hadn't done it that much in the past. So it'll be a real, key for us to be able to do a good job against, that type of thing.
All right, there you go. He gets into a couple things about the offense there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and so the big plays obviously open up the running game. They open up the intermediate passing. I mean, you just want that. I think any offense wants that. That was something that was kind of lacking from Alabama in the previous week. So it's good to see that they can do that. Go on the 8 drops. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. It looks like Ole Miss, if you're going to drop back with 8, defensive backs or 8 people in coverage. So maybe 2 of those are linebackers, right? But if you're going to do that and only blitz 3 people, then you're really trying to take away the deep ball, the deep pass. So that might be a situation like Nick Saban was saying. Bryce will have to throw it to maybe a check down or maybe an open tight end or maybe find a running back out of the backfield to kind of take advantage of what he has. But on the flip side, he's probably not going to face as much pressure. Now, Ole Miss is able to kind of generate a little bit of pressure with those 3 men, but you would think, or from an Alabama perspective, you would hope that they're able to kind of keep the pocket clean for Bryce Young and allow him to find that open man. And that's something that, Bryce Young seems to be good at. He's distributed the ball to a variety of targets this season. It's not like he's one of these quarterbacks that, locks onto one guy. So I think Alabama's pretty confident in his ability to read the whole defense and kind of pick apart things. So it could be a nice day for Bryce Young. It could be a day where you look back and you're like, well, wow, he didn't really make any big time plays, but then you look at his stats and this might be like a 80% completion kind of game. If they're going to give him those small passes, I think Bryce is the type of guy that's going to hit him.
Right. And here's, Nick Saban kind of was asked later on in the press conference about Bryce Young's pocket presence. I know what I think. I think he's got great pocket presence. I mean, look, he did get slung down by that defensive tackle from the Golden Eagles this week. And I was worried. Like when I saw him get, he basically got flung down like tornado. He's so small. I mean, skinny wise, but kid popped back up and did a great job. He's tough. And
he is. He is in size. When you talk to Bryce or you talk to, his dad or his coaches, they always go away from size. And it's because he's, it really doesn't factor as much as you would think it does. He's going to get hit, but he's a tough kid and he knows he's going to get hit. It's not like they're trying to play him in a bubble where he can't get touched because he's, not big enough. I don't think Bryce plays that way. So he's not afraid to get hit. And so, he'll stay in the pocket and maybe take some of those hits and, make plays happen.
All right, let's listen to Nick Saban here. I'm going to play 2 different clips, Tony. The first one, Nick Saban's going to talk about his pocket presence, and then I want to hear what Coach has to say about his demeanor. So it's 2 different clips, but we'll play them both here, and then you and I will get back together.
Unless we have any follow-ups, we'll finish up with Tony. Tony, go ahead.
Hey.
Yeah, when Bryce is making a play or escaping or running out with his legs, is there ever a moment where maybe you're surprised from what he can do on the sidelines? And just as a head coach, what is your thought process like when he's kind of making those escaping plays?
Well, I think we want the quarterback to escape. I think we want to, first of all, protect for him so he doesn't have to escape, but having, a good feel for the pocket, when to step up, when to move, where to move to, when to run, when to throw it. those are all instinctive things that I think make a guy a really good quarterback. So, I'm always very pleased to see, his ability to do all those things. We don't want him to take hits, but he can take hits in the pocket or he can take hits out of the pocket. We just got to do a good job of playing around him so he doesn't have to take those hits. But his instinct in the pocket is a real asset for him.
There you go. I was surprised to find out that was you that asked that question, Tony. All right. Well, before you answer, let's get into this one right here, and then we're going to talk more about Bryce.
About Bryce Young's demeanor. He's handled a lot of things, different circumstances on the field, but he also seems to have handled himself off the field well.
Well, I think it's his personality. He's a pretty sort of, he's got it together. He does the right things off the field. He's very well grounded, as a person. He's very smart. He's bright. He makes good choices and decisions in everything that he does. And I think that's just who he is. And, I think it's an asset for especially a guy that has his level of experience to have that demeanor because he doesn't get frustrated and he can go play the next play. And he makes a lot of really good plays. But I think he's constantly learning and developing as we go, as he's making these plays.
All right, there you go, Tony. You got a lot to chew on there.
Yeah, and it's kind of all the same thing, right? Because it's all about Bryce Young's, demeanor and playmaking ability under pressure, and that's something he does the best at. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation when facing pressure, and he's able to make those plays, and that comes from like Nick Saban was saying, he comes from a background that he's a very measured guy. He's very cool under pressure, both in terms of like actual pressure from the defense and then just being in high pressure situations. So Bryce is a guy that really excels under that. And he's somebody that they trust to make those plays in the pocket. Now, is he going to be pressured as much this game if Ole Miss is dropping if Ole Miss is only going to use 3 rushers, then probably not as much. But sometimes you'll see those linebackers kind of cover and then crash. So at that point, that might create a situation where if Bryce can make a guy miss, maybe he can maybe he can make a play with his legs on the perimeter. There's a lot of things Alabama can do against those situations. They really haven't done too many design runs with Bryce, but that could be something they could do as well. So Alabama trusts them in the pocket to make plays, and that's really just what both of those quotes were about.
Yeah, and look, I could see Ole Miss forcing Bryce Young to run because he's been a little hesitant to do that this year. But the thing that sticks out to me is when A.J. McCarron was Alabama's quarterback, he used to just get under Nick Saban's skin, particularly when he was a young player, right? And he turned out to be a champion and a great quarterback. But you could always tell, like, there was just this part of A.J. McCarron that Nick Saban was just constantly trying to like wrestle with. I feel like with Bryce Young, just same thing with Tua and even Mac too, but Tua and Bryce Young, you can just tell that they're already in that maturity spot that Nick Saban wants them to be in right now. And I mean, from the minute they got to Alabama.
Yeah, well, Bryce takes coaching so well too. So I think I think he used all of last year to kind of sponge off of what worked for Mac Jones and also listen to his coaches. And I think he sounds like one of these guys where you tell him one thing and he's going to latch onto it and just get better from it. So I think those are the kind of guys Nick Saban likes. And that's what's kind of happening. I think, Nick Saban will be the first one to defend Bryce on really any play. You've seen that, anything that, he's made a mistake or two, Nick Saban's been the first one to point out, well, did you see this? Or, this also contributed to that mistake. And I think part of that, comes from Saban's admiration toward Young and, how disciplined he is and how much, he's already bought in the process, but he listens, he does everything that Nick Saban wants a quarterback to do. So yeah, I think that they've got a good respect for each other.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, here's what Nick Saban had to say about Ole Miss's defense, and then we're going to switch over and listen to Bryce Young.
on defense from last year to this year? What areas sort of jump out to you in studying from last year to this year's unit?
Well, they just have a good system and a good scheme, and they've, I think they went and studied some things, and they do a good job of executing it. They know what they're doing, and their players are, really know what they're doing. I think, last year was a little bit of an anomaly when it came to, if you're a new staff, how do you get, what you want to do implemented? And I think, they probably went through that on defense a little bit, last year because of COVID. This year, because they've had the spring, they've had the summer, they've had a year to know what kind of adjustments they need to make relative to the players they have, and they've done a really good job of that.
All right, Coach.
All right. Thanks for your time, Coach. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I think, Ole Miss is going to be, a challenge for Alabama. I think they're going to be, improved from last year. And I think that, what Nick Saban said, this is going to be Alabama's biggest challenge. And this is going to be a good side. And I just think that, there's a lot to watch out for. I think Alabama will be able to handle it. But I think, when you look at this Ole Miss team, this is, I was surprised. I don't know about you, Mick, but I was surprised when I saw the betting line be what is it now, 17 or something like that.
No, it came out at 17.5. Now it's down to 14 right now. So you're not the only one that was surprised, because everybody's money is going. Yeah, everybody's money. I'm going to check just while we're talking here, but everybody else seemed to be surprised too, because that line has just done nothing but head down.
Yeah, I think it's just because people are kind of seeing this, this Ole Miss team. I think, when you look at this Ole Miss team, obviously you hear what Nick Saban has to say. He has a lot of glowing remarks. I think the only thing you can say against that is, who have they played? Louisville won 3 games after they played Ole Miss, and I know Tulane gave Oklahoma a good game. Austin Peay is kind of like playing Mercer. It's not really, you can't really judge anything from that. So I think that, that's the only thing you could say against them, but this is a good side. And I think people, saw that, and they saw that line and they pounced on it. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down to like 10,
Yeah, look, just to give you an idea right now, not to get into our sportsbook gambling show, but I love this stuff. 72% of the bets and 81% of the money right now with Ole Miss. So the line dropped from 17.5 to 14.5. But what I really love is that the over under went up a point today. Like, so it was 77.5, 78.5. It's going to be at 80 something here soon. So everyone's expecting, Ole Miss to cover and it to be a track meet, and they could be right. I mean, Ole Miss this year has scored 43 or more points every game. 43-24, they beat Louisville. Austin Peay, they won 54-17, and then against Tulane, 61-21. Wow. And they have done a nice job against the spread. So maybe that's why. But anyway, yeah, interesting kind of just getting into, into that. And thank you so much, Mechanic, for the super chat, man. We certainly appreciate that, man. Roll Tide to you. I'm going to leave that up there. And as you guys hang out with us tonight, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Always love to talk football and Alabama in particular with our great audience. All right, let's listen to some Bryce Young. Why not?
Sure.
Especially quarterbacks in SoCal and in the same area. So, I've always known of him. I've worked with him a few times. I've talked to him a few times. So, I have a lot of respect for his game. Again, being able to kind of see him progress from like me remembering him as a freshman in high school to obviously all the things he's doing now. So, I have a ton of respect for him. Michael.
Too, if I could, just first, how would you assess your the downfield passing game through the first 4 games?
I think there's positives and negatives to everything. I think we've hit some stuff downfield, but definitely want to obviously be a lot more consistent. There's some stuff we want to tighten up. There's week to week stuff that we want to improve on. But there's definitely a lot of room for improvement and stuff for us to work on.
All right, there you go. Look, players at the college level playing for Alabama aren't going to say a whole lot. If they do, they wouldn't be up there talking, would they?
No, and especially, look, we talked so much about Bryce Young's composure. Well, there it is, man. He's not going to say anything to rile up Ole Miss, and he's all his answers are going to be very composed. That first one was about Matt Corral, who's another Southern California kid like Bryce. Right. I think really while they know of each other and while they've worked maybe together at a camp, they don't necessarily have a relationship just because Matt Corral's probably, I think, 2 years older than Bryce. Their circles never really intertwined as much as you would think. So I think that there's a respect there, and I think there's a respect for Ole Miss from Bryce Young, just like he respects every opponent, and that's part of like I said, buying into the process and just being everything that Nick Saban wants as a quarterback, and he does a good job with that.
It's really kind of crazy to see how so many quarterbacks and really good players from Southern California have now migrated to the South to play football. And Lane Kiffin's one of the hottest names in college football. This guy was the coach at USC, and he got fired on the tarmac there, and he was playing with less scholarships, dealing with all of that. Don't you think that they would like to have him back now? Like looking at that, I mean, do you think he would have been able to keep a guy like Bryce Young or Matt Corral in state?
Probably, you know what I'm saying? There's so many, Southern California kids, DJ Uyunglele, Stroud from Ohio State. So yeah, there's a ton of, of talent. You would think that Lane's offense, if it was doing things that, it was doing, it's doing here in Ole Miss, then of course, yeah, he'd probably have those quarterbacks kind of chomping at the bit to be there. And Bryce Young was committed to USC at one point. So yeah,
How about that? That's weird.
And maybe he holds on to JT Daniel. There's another Southern California kid. So I mean, right. There's a ton of them. You would expect him to have one over there.
Yeah, all ranked teams. And three of the best teams in the country are quarterbacked by Southern Cal guys, and they're in the deep South. All right, let's do one more, and then we'll wrap things up tonight.
What kind of goes through your head when you do face that pressure? Like, I know a lot of it's instinctual, but like, kind of what's going through your head there?
Yeah, again, we resort a lot to what we've been taught, during the week, during the off season. Again, we have those rules, that preparation. So, it's not a lot of, it's really your mind goes to whatever read, whatever adjustment, whatever it is that you're supposed to, we're working on all week and that we train for all week. Whenever we get whatever look we get, your mind just goes to the practice reps and the reps of film and, trying to figure out the answer.
Oh, that was you again, Tony. So we had to finish with you asking a question.
Yeah. And what I was asking him was just, kind of to break down what he's thinking when he's making these, Houdini-like escapes. And I think the answer I got was more so that, it's just football. He's probably a lot of that's in the moment stuff. But one of the things he had said right there was that, Alabama kind of plans for situations like that. So, if somebody breaks down on a certain play, there's that safety valve. And Bryce is really good at hitting those. And so it speaks to his ability to kind of read the field and go through his progressions and just always be ready for those plays.
Guys, our show is brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums. You can book now or you can buy now. Find out more information at westgateal.com, or you can call at 855-287-1318. You can earn rental income if you buy one and rent it out, right? On-site hospitality team to handle owner and guest requests of all kind. Access to world-class housekeeping and maintenance crews, and they have website and digital marketing services for your resident to maximize revenue and distribution. And I got to tell you, spending time up there, it is absolutely brilliant. Right there next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. If we had a zip line, we could, basically get hot dogs sent over to us because there's nothing preventing us from doing that. And I loved it. Everyone over there was fantastic. The parking's great. The view's awesome. And I'm telling you, look at that right there. Let me just pause that if I can. You're talking about, I'm going to swing it right back there. There it is. Look, that's the game plan, Tony. There's Bryant-Denny Stadium, and there's the Westgate. So it shows you how close. But you can book those when you come into town, and or you can buy them. So but it's definitely if you want to come and have a really luxurious time in Tuscaloosa, you want to be right in the heart of everything, right there by the Strip, right there by football, right by the quad, by the fraternity houses, all that stuff. That's Westgate Luxury Condominiums. All right, Tony, what are you working on this week?
Like I said, I'm kind of working on something for tomorrow on, breaking down that Ole Miss defense and maybe ways that, Bryce Young can kind of exploit it. And then later on in the week, I'm looking to have a story on Bryce Young as well. Just kind of more of a deep dive into his, mindset in those high pressure plays.
Awesome. Well, look, tomorrow night right here on this site, Andrew Bone and Trey Yannity will be on talking about possibly another blue chip signing for the Crimson Tide, or let me say commitment for the Crimson Tide. A big announcement coming tomorrow. We'll cover that for you, BamaInsider.com. And, of course, tomorrow night, we'll have all of the press conferences leading up to this game coming up on Saturday, 2:30 at Bryant-Denny Stadium with Nick Saban like today. We'll have those for the rest of the week. And anything else going on, we got it for you right here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. That's Kyle Henderson, Tony Tsoukalas, who's sitting right here with me, Trey Yannity, Andrew Bone, our entire crew. I'm Mick Gillispie. All right, guys, hey, like and subscribe. That's a way that you say, hey, it was a good show. Say Roll Tide with a thumbs up. Hit the bell. That's going to let you know when we're coming back on with live shows. Maybe you forget. You get the reminder, hey, I better get on my phone. I better get on my pad. I better get on my television set and find out what's going on with Alabama. He's Tony Tsoukalas. I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for checking our show out. This was Monday Night Quarterback. We'll talk to you again real soon. Roll Tide.